Now here's Jim Field.
On the local scene, a 41-year-old South Philadelphia wife who disappeared 10 days ago, leaving $18,000 in savings unaccounted for, has been located in Los Angeles, California. Philadelphia police were notified today that Mrs. Stella Collins, who vanished on August 27th, was found in a confused condition early Wednesday morning. Mrs. Collins disappeared on August 27th, the day she was to meet her husband Stanley with a certified check for the purchase of a new home. Officials at McGuire Air Force Base report that 2 airmen have been killed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia when an incoming airplane struck their small tow truck. The plane, a C-47, had flown to Langley from McGuire and was coming down the runway when it struck the truck. The victims were identified as Airman Second Class Jack Alfrano of Philadelphia and Brian Schindel of Camden. A man described by police as the city's biggest loan shark was held in $1,000 bail today on charges of violating the Small Loans Act and making threats to do bodily harm. At a hearing, it was charged that the defendant, Sam Cohen of Malin Street near Lowber, used threats and a 280-pound so-called hatchet man to persuade customers to pay up. Principal witnesses against Cohen were Thomas Newman, 35, and Herbert Bastian, platform workers for a Hunting Park trucking concern. A 3-year-old Nicetown boy was killed today when he was struck by a truck at 16th and Rowan Streets near his home. Police said the victim, Edward Plummer, of 1509 West Rowan Street, was run over by a truck at 16th and Rowan south of Cayuga. The city's second polio death of the year was reported today. 2 other new cases were also reported, bringing the total for the year to 28. In all of last year, there were only 10 cases with no deaths. The fatal victim of the disease reported today was 27-year-old Joseph Mosley of 3868 Olive Street. Commissioner of Health Dr. James P. Dixon said Mosley had not received any Salk anti-polio injections. And a recent polio victim, jailed last night for non-payment of a fine imposed a year ago, was back operating his small repair business today after police chipped in and paid his fine. John Williamson, 42, of 541 North 55th Street, was taken from his bed to City Hall last night for non-payment of $26.13 for operating an automobile after his driver's license had been revoked. Williamson explained the reason he couldn't pay the fine was that he was stricken with polio 9 weeks ago and paralyzed in both legs. He later regained the use of his left leg, although he still has to use crutches. Only yesterday he had opened a repair garage at 5446 Pensgrove Street near his home. When Chief of County Detectives Thomas McDermott heard of Williamson's plight, he appealed to fellow workers. The fine money was quickly raised. Williamson, close to tears, released, driven back to his home. 31 persons were jailed today after the district attorney's office cracked down on several hundred persons who owed thousands of dollars in court-imposed fares. The crackdown began last night. A series of surprise raids were staged throughout the city by some 30 county detectives and 20 deputy sheriffs. District Attorney Blank, who ordered the raids, promised they would continue tonight and that an additional 500 warrants are being issued.
You're listening to News Tonight. This portion brought to you every day by Fidelity Philadelphia Trust Company, a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Joseph H. Miller reporting from Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania Republican leaders kick off their statewide election campaign here tomorrow. The campaign opening will take place when the Republican State Committee meets to adopt the platform and hear the candidates for governor, United States Senator, and other offices express their campaign views. As GOP leaders from the 67 counties assembled here today for the State Committee meeting, optimism prevails for victory. But party leaders serve notice on their candidates. The fall election cannot be won without a fighting campaign. Considerable interest is evidenced by county leaders in the type of platform the GOP High Command has written. One important phase of the platform will pledge Republican opposition to the enactment by the legislature of a wage or income tax. That will please Republican workers. But from all reports, the platform is a wordy affair. It will run about 3,000 words. One wonders why political leaders don't wise up and keep their platform short and interesting. The late Governor Gifford Pinchot, in one campaign, wrote his platform on a postcard. Politicians ought to remember a lot can be said in a few words.
In the Delaware Valley tonight, pupils at Camden's Woodrow Wilson High School have received another vacation bonus. The school, originally set to open last Wednesday, then postponed until this Monday, will have still another delay. Because the project is still not completed, pupils have been told not to return to the school until next Thursday. More on that possible tax increase in New Jersey. The New Jersey Education Association says that property owners may face a 1959 tax bill $14 million larger than the tab that they'll pick up this year for the cost of education. The only way to avoid the strain on the property owners, says the association, is to levy a new broad-based state tax. The state of New Jersey has no income tax or sales tax at present. The increase talked about by the educational group would come about through increased local taxation. It's not the same one that Governor Minor referred to yesterday when he said that a state tax increase might come next year. Up in Trenton, Louis Marrero, who wounded 3 nuns and 3 policemen and a passerby in a shooting spree last April the 19th, was sentenced today 28 to 42 years in prison. On the Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River, the cost of lunches at the Newtown Joint School hasn't advanced. The school says that the 30-cent lunch will continue. Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt will be the guest of honor at the dedication of the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Junior High School in Bristol Township, November the 20th. And Cheltenham Township has announced its curriculum for the fall term of its adult school. Classes will begin on September 29th, and registration can be made by mail. Approximately 112 Upper Moreland families face warrants for failure to connect to the sewer line. The Hatboro Public Spirit reports that the Upper Moreland commissioners are planning to bring all violators before the justices of the peace. And 2 gunmen walked into the Darby Township substation of the United Parcel Service and escaped with $1,100 after tying up cashier John Zack of Philapagarello of Mount Ephraim, New Jersey.